Hi, I wanted to share with you some books that I've picked up recently. We are here in South Lake Tahoe at Fallen Leaf Lake, and on our way here we stopped in Sacramento to visit some friends and also went to Beer's Books. So all of these are used books from there. I love visiting a new bookstore when we are somewhere that we aren't regularly and seeing what they have. And my kind of method is to always look for things that I know I can't get at home. So these are things that I've had on my radar but have not been able to get at my local library or have seen in a used bookstore near me. And I just wanted to take a moment to share what each of these books are and why I picked them up. I'll start with the one nonfiction book I bought, which is Dark Matters by Simone Browne. This is on the surveillance of blackness. This is something I heard about when it first came out, but I've never seen at a used bookstore. It's not something that's widely read, and I kind of just figured I would have to buy it full price someday, but I happened to find it there, which was a surprise. This says that Browne draws from Black feminist theory, sociology, and cultural studies to analyze texts as diverse as the methods of surveilling blackness she discusses. From the design of the 18th century slave ship Brooks, Jeremy Bentham's Panopticon and the Book of Negroes, to contemporary art, literature, biometrics, and post-9/11 airport security practices. Surveillance, Browne asserts, is both a discursive and a material practice that reifies boundaries, borders, and bodies around racial lines, so much so that the surveillance of blackness has long been and continues to be a social and political norm. Unclean Jobs for Women and Girls by Alissa Nutting. This is an author who I have really loved in the past. I've read both Tampa and Made for Love, and she pushes kind of the acceptable limits of what should be written about, and I find that really fascinating. As an author, she is someone who is doing something very different than a lot of other authors, and I do want to continue reading her work. So this is a collection of short stories. A space cargo delivery woman enlists the help of her cybersex partner to release her mother from a cryogenic prison. Desperate for affection and a more lavish lifestyle, a young woman falls under the corrosive spell of the fashion model for whom she's given up everything to assist. A woman submits to a procedure that will turn her body into a futuristic ant farm, only to discover the sinister plans of her doctor. I'm not a big short story person, but because it's Alissa Nutting, I knew that I wanted to read this book. Desolation by Yasmina Reza. This is a translated book. It's translated from the French by Carol Browne Janeway. And I was drawn to this by this cover. I love this, looks like an old man in a suit with this very lavish ring, and he's flipping us off there on the cover. This sounds like it is about a grouchy old man. Samuel Perlman, the elderly narrator of Yasmina Reza's deliriously dyspeptic novel, is surrounded by happy people. His wife, Nancy, is thrilled to be a member of the human race. His grown son is content crisscrossing the world to sample exotic fruit with the savages. But Samuel himself refuses to be happy, and his attempt to explain his refusal, half to his son and half to himself, generates an epic, blasphemous, and hilarious rant against the compromises of his life. Reza is someone I haven't read from before, but I did go ahead and read the first couple pages when I was in the bookstore just to see if I liked her style of writing, and I was actually pretty entertained by these opening pages, so I did decide to get this book and see what I think of her work. Domenico Starnone's Trick. This is translated by Jhumpa lahiri. Starnone is an author I am about to read for the first time. I'm working on a video right now reading three or four books by Italian authors, and Starnone is one that I chose, and I saw another one of his books. I'm gonna read Ties very soon, but I wanted to pick up Trick and I was fascinated by the description of this novel. Imagine a duel between two men. Daniel Malarico is a successful illustrator who, in the twilight of his years, feels that his reputation and his artistic prowess are fading. The other, Mario, is Daniel's 4-year-old grandson. Daniel has been living in a cold northern city for years, in virtual solitude, focusing obsessively on his work, when his daughter asks if he would come to Naples for a few days and babysit Mario while she and her husband attend a conference. Shut inside his childhood home, an apartment in the center of Naples that's filled with the ghosts of Malarico's past, grandfather and grandson match wits as Daniel heads toward a reckoning with his own ambitions and life choices. Yeah, I'm really eager to get to Starnone. I hope that I love ties, and will soon follow up with reading Trick as well. And then the final book is a book that I've heard about for a long time, since its publication, and my eagerness to read it has grown. But again, it's not something I'd seen at the library, not something I've seen at used bookstores near me, so I was super happy to see Eartheater by Dolores Reyes. This is translated from the Spanish by Julia Sanches, who I've read translations from before. This book is set in an unnamed slum in modern-day Argentina, where a young girl has a compulsion to eat earth that gives her visions of the murdered and disappeared. Her ability is no superpower. With her first taste of dirt, she learns the truth of her mother's death. Disturbed by what she witnesses, Eartheater keeps her visions to herself. But when she strikes up an unlikely relationship with a withdrawn police officer, word of her visions spreads, and desperate members of her community seek out her help to find loved ones and closure. This theme and symbolism of eating dirt appears a lot within South American and Latin American literature. I'm just thinking back to 100 Years of Solitude by Márquez. There is a key character who frequently is compulsively eating dirt or stuffing dirt into her mouth. And I am only about 100 pages into The House of Spirits by Isabel Allende right now, but that also mentions someone who is eating dirt or is overcome with the urge to stuff their mouth full of dirt. I think that is a very interesting thing, and it is interesting to see it played out across multiple books by different authors. Just this reoccurring theme that I find really fascinating. So I'm excited to get to Eartheater by Dolores Reyes. I also know a close friend of mine has read or is reading this right now, so it'll be nice to talk to her about it. And my friend may actually be reading it in Spanish, so I do think that will be helpful to discuss with her if there's any differences, or just to kind of have a better idea of how accurate the translation is when it comes to this novel. So that's what I got. 5 books from Beers Books, 4 fiction books and 1 nonfiction, and all things that I'm very excited to get to. I had heard about all of these books other than Desolation previously, which I'm happy with. I am someone who has such a long list of books to read. I do find myself needing to keep myself a bit focused on only picking up authors or books that I know that I want to read from, because that list is so long at this point. I'm really happy that I found these at the bookstore that we visited, and I'm looking forward to whatever other bookstores we get to visit on this trip.